nationwide, I don't know what that statistic is, but whenever we have any kind of problems, ours is always the highest, and you wonder why it's like that. And I really do believe that it's because it's how we were treated, over time, from generation to generation. It's alive, and it's alive, it's living. We just don't see it, or we just don't look at it, we don't realize it, we don't think about it. Why we do certain things, or why we think certain things, and why we're like we are, But that's what you called intergenerational trauma, where someone really did something bad to you, and it has its effect. In this case, it's passed on from generation to generation. But I think the healing process takes place once you understand these things. Why is it like this in my home? Why is it like this with that family? Why is it like this with my community, with my nation? You wonder and figure out why people act in certain ways. It's not their fault. The government did it to them. That's what it really comes down to. The majority part of it. Once you identify the problem, I think you're able to cope with it and live with it and put it in your past.
I feel that we can heal ourselves, but we're not there yet. And I think that this is the reason why we're faced with a lot of hardship. And this is the question that I'm would like answered is how do we liberate ourselves as Indian people so that eventually we would heal ourselves. And it makes sense to me that through generations we're still carrying this and it hasn't been totally resolved.
And now we've gotten to where she can come to me and opens up, and sometimes I've gotten to the point where I don't go on an outrage anymore. Once in a great while I'll raise my voice a little bit, but my daughter is not afraid anymore. When she knows I'm mad, she'll still carry on in a normal way. Carries on a conversation like nothing happened, even though she knows I'm mad. And a lot of that tension I feel I've rid of a lot of that tension. But yet, I have yet to bring myself to find it in my heart to forgive my father. I know that I still hold some anger. And a lot of times I find myself asking, what will it take to truly get past all of this?
It'd be interesting to really explore that. What exactly does that mean? How do we, as Indian people, liberate ourselves? Not only liberate ourselves, but also liberate the oppressor, so we can set both free.
So when it comes to the part where you're healing yourself, we really need to be really honest and open with everything that happened. And one of the things that happens with when people are violated is that usually people are made to keep secrets. Like if a child gets abused, usually that child is told not to say anything about it, to keep it a secret. And so that's one of the things that I always encourage people to do is something hurts you, something is hurting you, even if it happened to your ancestors. It's important to talk about it because if you don't, it's going to continue making you sick. And not only that, it'll make your children will be sick and your grandchildren will have sickness. So how much better to just deal with it right now, and that way you can get healthy and so can your kids and your grandkids. So it's a real important thing to look at the whole idea of honesty and openness when you talk about healing yourself. And being here today is where basically in the face of history, we're telling history at this very moment that we're seeing what happened here and we're acknowledging it. And now that we're seeing it, it loses power over us. So we don't have to be sad over what happened to our ancestors here. You know, we can heal from it and move on. And so this is a historical moment, and it's even more powerful than what started here in the first place.
I want to tell you something too. It's just the way I've been through. In the past, when I have a problem, a lot of things, maybe sickness, maybe some other thing. If I start thinking about it, then I get my mind, I get out of control sometimes. It makes me sick. So it's better to get rid of it. Tell somebody, one of your loved ones, or some of the person that you know. That way everything comes up and makes you feel better, feel good.
I've come to realize that while doing my rugs, it's therapy in itself. And since being brought up with it, having everything to be so perfect, and trying to overcome that perfectionist, I realized that while doing my rugs, and this is the first one I've ever done, and I realized, and I know there are a lot of mistakes in there, and then I excuse it and tell myself, that's okay, it's only my first one, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Even with the second one, this is my second one, and even with that, there are mistakes that sometimes I get frustrated with, and go on and say, it's only my second, it's going to be okay, be patient, and things will get better.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been using over the years with a lot of the relatives in treatment is dream work, talking about dreams with Indian people, because that seems to really have a lot of meaning. And out of my journeys last couple of weeks to, through the Southwest, Texas, Oklahoma, in Washita, I was totally ignorant about what happened there. General Custer, after killing a lot of the Indian relatives there, in order to take the warriors' way of following and fighting, he decided to kill all their horses. And so I was right on the spot. It was a place like this where Custer's guys killed 800 horses, mules, horses with knives, any which way they can. And when I was there, it was a tremendous sadness that kind of came on me because I could feel the energy of those poor creatures, just suffering. And so we kind of burned some smoke there. And a couple of days later, I had a dream. And in this particular dream, there was this medicine man that was coming towards me. And, he hugged me. And as he hugged me, he says, "Stand real still, don't move." So I stood real still. And as soon as he said that, there was a stampede of hundreds of horses all around us in the dream. And I've never dreamed anything like that. And this was real. And so all these horses were just stampeding all over the place. And after a while, I kind of peeked over his shoulder and I could still see it. And then this one horse came around the left here, a real quiet horse, and just kind of came right up to me and kind of greeted me like a human being greets another human being, and felt like a relation with that horse. And that was the end of the dream. And so that kind of told me that the horses, the four-legged relatives that were massacred up there, acknowledged the prayer that we did. And so they came in this dream and kind of showed that they're going to be at peace also. And so that's kind of how dreams are used in treatment, and although this is kind of my own treatment, but see, something happened to me by going to these places, so then a dream came that helped me make sense of it. And so a lot of you might have dreams after today, you know, that you might need to talk to somebody about, that'll make sense of why we're even here today.